This is the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast, episode 165 with me, Chris Rickenbaugh. And today I interview Ashley Coates, who's teaching us how to run your real estate business on systems and processes. Ashley has some really cool things going on with residential care facilities. She has a flipping business that she runs with her husband while managing remotely, and also owns a restaurant. So you're going to want to be tuning in to this episode. But if you're not familiar with this podcast, this is the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast. My name is Chris Rickenbaugh, and I am using this podcast to document my journey in real estate and business, and also talk a little bit about travel hacking and personal finance. You can find me everywhere on Instagram and TikTok at chris.rickenbaugh. So that's chris.REICHENBACH. And if you're listening to this podcast, stay right where you are, or you can go ahead and listen on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Podbean, and Amazon Music. So today is a really, really interesting conversation. Ashley is a really, really cool person to be able to listen to, the way she thinks about systems and processes, how she's managing her residential care facilities. You're going to want to tune in for that. So let's hop into the interview. All right, Ashley Coates, welcome to the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, we're rolling in there. We were talking a little bit before. It's a lot of chaos right now. Moving properties, turning this to an Airbnb. So we are slammed busy right now. But
Good.
yeah, Ashley, we met at the Better Life conference, and you were telling me about all the different businesses you've been running, and I thought, you would be a perfect guest on the podcast, especially with the real estate and the systems. And I know you own a restaurant as well. And it's really just building systems on systems. How do we run this? And then I had a lot of questions on how you operate it. So getting into it, tell us a little bit about you and your background, and then how you got into real estate.
Yeah, sure. So I got into real estate really young, had a very non-traditional start. My mom was a broker in real estate, and she pulled me in really young, like 12, 13, 14. Property management, doing all kinds of things. I did property management. I helped her with some of her subdivisions that she had and things like that. I then started working on the loans. Back, pre-crisis, we did loans. We did our own mortgage loans. So I was doing that. And she passed away when I was pretty young, so I kind of just ran with it and took off with real estate. I think I've just always been an entrepreneur at heart. I've really never had a boss. So I did work for Edward Jones for a minute. I did a little gig at finance at a Ford company. Those are like the most closest things I've ever had to a real job. Owned some laundromats and sold them in the process. You know, been
All across the board.
Yeah, pretty much.
So when you were in real estate when you were young, was that mostly just the broker part, or were you actually investing or flipping?
I was not investing and flipping when I was young. My mom did some, I guess, kind of. We did one when I was probably 18. We bought a house. This was right before kind of things started to well, it was a ways before that. So it was like the when the last mortgage or big real estate boom was, I want to say, is when it was.
Hmm.
Yeah. So we did buy one, we did a little repairs to it, rented out, and about 6 months later the market just kind of went up a ton and we sold it real quick. So that was like the first like flip I ever was a part of. I know we got to help, find the house and then sell it, but it wasn't really a flip to the level of what we do now.
Gotcha. So what does your real estate and your flipping business look like now?
Yeah.
And
So
how did that
mhm.
really get into motion?
Yeah. Well, it's been kind of a slow progression. Like I said, I've been into real estate in multiple different businesses, but everything I've ever done just kind of brings me back to real estate. I've had lots of rentals and different investments throughout the years. I started investing into residential care facilities about 15 years ago now, I think.
Oh
Close
wow.
to yeah, it's been a long time. When there was we had a big fire. We're near Paradise. I think everyone knows of the Paradise Fire, so Camp Fire. When that happened, there was a huge need. So we, at the time, I converted all of my rentals into residential care facilities because there was a huge need. So that kind of like I was a deep dive into the residential care world. small group stuff. And then I met my husband now about 5 years ago. He's a contractor. I'm a broker. And it kind of just started with like he wasn't loving what he was doing. He was doing like large apartment complexes, finish work, windows, doors, things like that, and just working for those large projects. And they were so unorganized. He wasn't super happy. And I saw a house and I'm like, it was a great value off market house. And I just was like, I'm just going to buy it. I think we'd only been together, I don't even, not even 6 months.
Oh,
Like
wow.
we were like just brand new in a relationship. And I'm like, hey, let's flip this house. So
Married or dating?
yeah, we were barely dating.
Oh,
Exactly.
wow. Yeah, that's a lot of trust then.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm gonna buy this house, like let's do it. And so we did, and it was kind of fun. And then then I found two more off-market homes, and we actually, I like to say bird into care because we did like a burr on them, but flipped them and then turned them into residential care facilities, added to the portfolio there. And we just kind of like got into a groove where we really liked it. And then me being me, I'm like, let's scale this because why not? And so just last year really is when we started scaling or trying to scale our flip business and um, really, dove into finding off-market properties, working with wholesalers. We actually started investing in San Antonio as well, which is still a huge learning curve. We're still figuring that out. But yeah, that's kind of how we ended up here anyways.
Yeah, and that's something that I know we talked about at the conference, the flipping, and we talked about different masterminds we are joining,
Yeah.
and so you know, going into the residential care part, you said you
Mhm.
started that a while ago, and then started just flipping here recently.
Mhm.
So for the flipping, how have you guys just kind of started building up? You said you did one, and now you're really trying to scale up. So what does that look like on? It's like, okay, I think this is something that we should be doing to now. How do we get really consistent at this? What do some of the numbers look like per year now?
I mean, you learn from every project. I think that's the biggest thing. And numbers are my thing.
Hmm.
He's really my husband's really into like the quality and that piece. That's big for him, which is great. It makes us a great team. He's good at quality. I'm good at looking at numbers. I'm good at sourcing deals, that kind of stuff. So you put us together and it works pretty well. Um, it's yeah, every deal we do we're just now kind of getting to where I feel like our numbers are really good. Like we're
Okay.
granular, we can see things. So every time we're able to like dive into a project and be like, okay, where could we have improved? And right now we're really trying to hyper focus on our planning process because our planning process we feel is just taking a little too long. And that's we're definitely losing some time and some money there because time is money. I mean, when you're flipping, you're looking at budgets, you're looking at time, and you're looking at quality. That's what's important.
Hmm.
Uh, we have always been hyper focused on quality, and we still are. I think that we do things in homes that most people flipping homes would not do. I think most people probably wouldn't even know to do them. It's his construction background where he sees things that the rest of us would not see.
Yeah.
Um, so that's a challenge for us because we overflip all the time.
Yeah. Oh, I understand that for sure. And that's where, I'm almost a year and a half in, and you're starting to notice those little details. You're starting to have actual data on how to run the numbers. Oh,
Yeah.
this costs a little bit more. And it sounds like you guys are about at that point too. You know, uh Profit First was a huge, huge book for
Uh-huh.
me.
Yes, love
Um,
Profit First. Yeah.
Yeah, Cam Cathcart. So when he brought it up on one of the mastermind calls, I'm like, well, might as well read it. It's on the shelf. And
Yeah.
that one completely transformed everything I was doing. And
Yeah.
that's what, like, I broke off the partnership.
Uh-huh.
We're running numbers differently, data. So that's um, huge.
Yeah, I think Profit First was one of the first things that really changed the way, and actually it changed the way I run all my businesses. Loved that book. What we've been focusing on now, though, is more the capital partner side. So we've been bringing on a lot of capital partners, which has been a game changer for us, really, because now we're able to scale faster. Because when you're constantly coming in with your own capital, and this is the part I don't think a lot of people realize, is they think, oh, you just got to come in with the money down. Well, we're at a spot now we've done enough where most of our lenders we can get 100% financing, but even with 100% financing, as you know, you've still got a lot of closing costs that you have to come in with. And then you've
Oh
got
yeah,
a lot of, you buy your materials up front, you have interest payments throughout, you have all, you've got deposits you got to send to contractors, you've got progress payments you got to make. And, the bank pays in arrears. So even if you get 100% financing, you're likely still going out 40 to 60 grand on a project before you ever see a draw come back.
for
And
sure.
so we've started working with some different partners locally, just friends, some actually not friends, just people we don't, that we don't know that have wanted to invest in our deals with us. And that's been a huge game changer for us because now we can buy multiple properties and not worry about tying up all of our reserves in these projects so that we can keep, not have to worry about having the funds to be able to execute quickly.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because it's kind of like asking for a friend because that's what I'm going through now is the actual capital raising and how you're doing that with multiple different people because I think it's there's different FDC rule. I think that's the right term, FDC rules to where, raising from different people, kind of like a fund, but it's not a fund. So how are you doing that specifically, being able to buy multiple houses at a time, with other people's money and not
So
going
like
through a bank?
I think a lot of people overcomplicate capital raising. I think it can be complicated and you can syndicate and you can, do funds. You can do all of those things. We don't do any of that. Like we keep
Okay.
it stupid simple. Like literally we're just doing personal notes. People that, see what we're doing, they either know us or they trust us from what we're doing. We've got enough out there now where they can see proof of concept essentially. So it's not, it's just a personal note. Some people are more comfortable if they get, if they get like a second on the property or something like that. So case by case, we'll do it, but usually they're just personal notes.
Hmm.
Uh, Investing in, we usually either say this is the project or it's just a personal note in general to the business and then us. So we keep it super simple. We don't overcomplicate it at all. There's definitely a little bit of red tape and what kind of marketing you can do when you're doing that. But I don't really, we're not doing any mass marketing or anything like that. We're just, I just get on social and I just talk about what we're doing, and that's usually all it takes.
Yeah, are you seeing a lot of your investors come from social media, just posting Facebook, Instagram, and that's where they see and come in?
Yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, we follow each other on social media, and I'm like, that's one person I see, posting every single day, and it's the consistency that, pays off. So that's cool to hear, and it's good to hear that like my mindset's going in that direction to where, we were doing it deal by deal, and now we have a little bit of history, and I'm setting it up now to where, it's like, hey, let's just do a year note and let me pay you
Yep.
quarterly. Yeah, so that's where cool. Good good things there. So, what is, on the real estate side, what does your team look like now and how are you managing them? I know you said you have your husband doing most of the contracting work, but what does kind of the
More the
deeper dive of
project
the team look like?
management. Yeah. So he does the project management, the quality control, that kind of stuff. He's the one that's going to go in. So I do all the acquisitions, which right now we're still pretty much buying 100% from wholesalers, some on market. I've had a couple off market, just randoms that fell in my lap, but most of it's
Hmm.
wholesalers. Really looking at shifting that maybe eventually. I'd like to go seller direct. Nobody's marketing my area. But that just seems like a big lift that I haven't wanted to take on right now.
Yeah.
I handle the acquisitions. I'm the one that looks at the deal. I'm good at comping out properties. I come up with kind of like a design or a plan or here's what I'd like to do. And then he usually goes in and does the here's what we're actually going to do. And he sees things I don't see. So part of the budget have to go there, or he sees something maybe that's going to be a little bit better, or so he changes it up a little bit. He manages. We have two. Well, we have three guys on our crew. He manages them. Plus, then we have some subs that we work with. He manages those guys. And then I have a executive assistant slash transaction coordinator slash finance manager. I don't know. She does a lot.
Hmm.
Um, she kind of manages me in a way. So she manages me, and then on top of that, she does all of the financing. So when we buy a property, I pretty much just have to show up to escrow and sign a couple papers. She handles everything else from start to finish, which is huge for me. Otherwise, it would be very challenging without that. And then she handles like coordinating with escrow, stuff like that, turning on utilities, all the little things that need to happen. Sometimes she'll even help my husband with the project management, reaching out to contractors, getting them over there for bids, meeting them places. She'll handle some of that stuff too for us. And then I handle the listing and the disposition side of it.
Gotcha. So that person's not a VA. They're actually hands-on, boots on the ground type of person.
Yeah, she's a real live person here locally.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have VAs, and I want desperately to make that work, and I'm going to keep
Mhm.
trying. I don't think that the failures we've had with VAs is the VA. I think it's me. I'm not so great at that first 10%. If you think of the 80-20 rule, 10-80-10, right?
Yeah.
I, I'm not great at that first 10. Like I need someone that can speak my language, which is like very few words, and hopefully you can read my mind. So
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
really
same way.
challenging at
Same
the beginning.
way.
Yeah. So I'm not there yet, but my hope is that I'm hoping soon we can get a good project manager assistant for my husband, someone, because I feel like my assistant's being pulled in too many directions. And if she could just focus on what she shines at, and then if I can get someone else for him to just, start coordinating all the contractors, receiving bids, getting them in spreadsheets so he can go through and pick them, making things a little easier for him, sending out contracts. Neither of us are We're not good at dotting I's and crossing T's. If you leave contracts to us, it's going to be a handshake and a problem later.
Yeah, that makes sense, but it's really cool to see the dynamic you have with your husband because you're like, "Hey, I'm buying the deal, you're fixing it, and then we'll figure out on the dispo." And that's and just understanding the team in general is, I think something that people struggle with, especially getting into, because that's something I'm about to run into is once we get a little bit of consistency, it's like, all right, how do we scale this up? How, when my email inbox is full, like where do we go after that? And I see you shaking your head like, oh yeah, I've been there.
We still are there. I mean, we still struggle. I like to have my hands in everything.
Hmm.
And so it's really hard for me to stay in my lane. And I've worked with a lot of different business coaches and they're just like, get out of his lane. And I'm just like, I can't, and I'm super tech. Like I like to see everything in a computer program or in a spreadsheet, or, I like everything documented online and pictures and finances. And he's kind of like, got 9,000 paper files next to his desk, which just like, so we
Stresses you
don't have
out.
it all figured out by any means, like not even a little bit, but we make it work.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that because that's about how I am. I want to see it all on one spreadsheet, and that's moving from there. And so going to those different business coaches, are those things they're saying because of the dynamic you guys have? And I guess, you know, um, speaking on masterminds, like how many different masterminds, how many different coaches are you using to be able to, you know, scale?
Yeah, that's embarrassing. Okay, so I have, well, I did deal flow with Cameron
Hmm.
before you did it. That was kind of how we learned the off-market acquisitions with wholesalers, which was great. That was what we needed to take our business from, 1 to 2 flips a year to right now, I think we have 10 active projects
Wow.
because we learned how to do that. So now that we've done that, I've joined another mastermind, 7-figure flipping, and that's focusing more on systems, processes, and capital raising, that kind of thing. And that's kind of where we're at right now on that side. I have other coaches. I have a business coach that helps me with business in general, with the restaurant, with just managing my whole universe of things and not letting, problems while I'm busy building this or busy building that,
Hmm.
keeping everything operating to where I'm getting things, fed to me that I need to know and making decisions that I need to make. He keeps me in my lane. So I have him. And then recently we actually just brought on a residential care coach for the residential care facilities. He is primarily a leadership and culture coach.
Okay.
And then we're working on some other really fun stuff too on the side. Something I'm hoping to, open up next year. So all in all, I'm part of two masterminds if you count Cameron's, although I don't think I've made a call in a long time. Guilty. But a mastermind and I have 2 coaches.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean
A
that's
lot.
yeah, but I mean it's helping you excel and I think probably grow as a person too and I being really quick on things and just wanting to see it one specific way, it's helping you kind of look at it a completely different way. Because
Yeah.
I'm in, but I'm also, or I just hopped off a call with Jason Drees coaching, a
Okay.
mindset coach.
Hmm.
So just that was the first ever call that I ever had, and it was, he's just, hey, look at this thing this way, and I think that's probably what's happening in the coaching calls and masterminds, but it's helping you scale. So I
Yeah.
just figured I'd ask, and so other than the flipping and the restaurant, you're working on you have residential care facilities. So for people that don't know what those are, what are the facilities specifically?
So ours are small group residential care, 4 to 6 beds, and we personally do adult residential. So adults with disabilities 18 to 59. Another model would be like an RCFE, which is your 59 and older elderly, that demographic. I just don't do those. I do the adults.
Hmm. Okay. And
Yeah.
so I think I've definitely heard of that before. I think when I hear residential care facilities, I think of like
The big ones.
yeah, the really
Yeah.
big ones. So
Yeah.
it's interesting hearing like those smaller ones, how
Mhm.
they're being managed, because is there a live-in person managing that each facility?
Not live in. We have around the clock staffing.
Okay.
Every facility, it just depends on the level of care that's needed and how many staff, but they're 24-hour awake staff. We do 10-hour shifts. Some people do eights, but it's just
So
shift work.
how did that become one of your niches to be able to get into that? How, hey, I got the management down. Here's what we did. How did that all come about?
Well, I bought 2 facilities like about 15 years ago, and then the campfire happened, and that was my first that was my first dive into it. It was actually my ex-husband that brought it to my attention. He did it. His family did it. He did it. These 2 facilities came available, and he sent it to me and said, "Hey, why don't you take a look at this? Like, I think it's a good deal." And I just looked at it from a business standpoint and was like, "These numbers make sense. This is a great business." Like, okay. And it came with real estate, which made me happy. So I just dove in and learned all about the business. And then, fast forward 10 years, Campfire hits, or I guess it was like 7 years. And so at that time, the regional center was like, they had a lot of homes lost, a lot of people displaced. They were panicking. And I'm like, I've got some rentals. Like, I could just convert them, so that kind of is what started that. So converted the rental portfolio to residential care. Him and I split ways and kind of split the portfolio. And then I was just I had 3 facilities, and I was just doing that and doing the single mom thing. And then met my husband. And that was when we just kind of did this burr into care thing and flipped a couple houses that were like, they were gut rehab flips. Like,
Oh,
they were bad, but it was really cool because now we have these beautiful facilities that we were able to designed to be a perfect care facility. And so they just run so well. And since then, my primary focus has been on systems. Like, I'm big on systems, and I want things to run. I want to get, I want things to run to where every facility is duplicatable, it's scalable, it is, can be hands off. If it's done right. And that's like been my big goal is I want to scale these things in a way where they are duplicatable and scalable, and they are not running my life.
so
So
what are some of those things that you're using to be able to help them run smoother? Is it, I'll let you talk on that, because
yeah.
I know like some of the things, like just for the flipping part, like Asana and you know
So we
like
use Microsoft, which we use the Planner, which is a version of basically it's Asana, but it's in Microsoft because we
okay.
run everything in Microsoft. We run SharePoint suites. In the process of redesigning our SharePoint suite because with the added technology of AI, super excited, but I'm hoping to roll out an AI bot that will basically be my living, breathing SOPs for the facilities. So we have
Mm,
everything documented, all the processes, all the procedures, all of the, best practices. We have all of our culture. We meet weekly for leadership meetings and all that culture stuff. Everything is documented, and I'm going to get it into a new SharePoint, and this bot is going to be able to answer questions and help my staff deal with difficult situations so that they can
interesting.
get, rather than digging through a profile trying to find how do I do this and where is it? I'm going to go through a binder and find this SOP. they're going to be able to just ask their GPT, hey, how do I do this? I don't remember. And it's just going to pull it up and tell them.
Interesting.
So that's hopefully by the end of the year, that's the plan. We're going through every single SOP right now, just making sure they're exactly how we want them. And then next quarter, I'm going to work on building that out.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's so cool. And now, how many do you have currently? And
I
then,
have I have five,
okay.
and then I have two others that are in my ecosystem. I like to say, or our ecosystem. It's just friends that own their own facilities, but we coordinate together, share technology, share best practices. We work on things together, and we have a couple other people that are wanting to potentially join our ecosystem. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know you're working on a coaching program that we talked a little bit about before. So can you touch on that? And it sounds like a project like you're
Yeah.
super excited about. So let's talk about the coaching program that you're working on
Yeah.
too.
So hopefully next year, that's the plan. It's a lot of work, so not really sure. It's kind of it's just in the infancy stage, we'll say. But there's a lot of people right now that are really interested in this space, and I have a lot of people reaching out to me, being like, "Tell me more. I want to know more. How do I do this? I have a rental, or I have a short-term rental that I need to convert into something. Like, tell me more." And I think that there's a lot of misinformation out there that, that it's super, super easy to just, do this and have this, huge rent per room and, it's going to cash flow from day one. And I really am on a mission to, I want to educate people. I want people to know that it really can be hands off, but it's going to take some work up front. It's going to take the right systems and the right procedures. And we've done all that work. So I'm hoping to create something to be able to share the knowledge and the systems and the processes that we have to make it easier for other people to be able to run these successfully, because we're dealing with people's lives. We
Right.
can't just like wing it.
Yeah.
And that's one of my biggest fears is I see a lot of people jumping into this space that probably don't know what they're getting themselves into. And if it's anything like the facilities I bought, it probably doesn't have the systems in place yet. And it's going to end up becoming a full-time job times
Yeah,
two.
and that makes sense. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
full business. It's not like a house flipped where, hey, I can just find another contractor. You're talking about business. You're talking about systems, people in place 24/7, lots of spreadsheets. So that's
Policies and all the things. I mean, there's a lot of ways
yeah.
that people can do it. You can rent it out to an operator. You don't have to operate it, so that's an option for some people, but a lot of people are jumping into that. I want to operate it because that's where the biggest return is, of course.
Hmm.
And so you can partner with an operator too. That's another option. But if you're going to do it yourself, then you definitely need to make it as systematized as possible if you still want to have a life.
Yeah. Now is this a niche in an area that's growing and kind of I would say recession proof?
I think so. So the last recession we had, there were some families, because we're in adult residential, so
Right.
did have a decent amount of families that kind of pulled in and brought their loved ones home, to be able to make a little bit more money, because it's all paid by the state essentially, or the government, so they were able to do that. We had a few, and that happened, but that doesn't seem to be a thing right now at all. We're having no issues staying full. And then on the other side of things with the elderly homes, I mean, there's more of a need now than there's ever been, and that's expected to only increase because we have so many hitting that age right now. And then, the adults with disabilities, the same thing. Like, the need is only getting greater. So yeah, I don't see it doesn't I don't see how it could not be recession proof.
That makes sense. And something that's big in the Charlotte market right now is the rent by the room strategy is growing like a weed. So, you know, I'm blanking on the name of the big company that's about it. What's Pad Split? Yes,
That's
Pad
what.
Split.
Yeah.
Yeah, so pad splits are being huge in this area and everybody's trying to do it, and Airbnb is still a game here to where but
Yeah.
now you have to I think one of my realtors, he manages Airbnbs and he's
Mhm.
talking about setting it up a specific way, hiring these people for 10 grand, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, you could probably design it 10 grand a room." And I said, "10 grand a room?" I'm like, "No way." But So it's interesting hearing about these different parts of parts of the US that, hey, this is pretty much recession proof. It's a growing problem. We're able to do this and we can scale it because you have the business experience. And that was something that I was really looking forward to. It's like systems and processes. How are we doing that? How are we scaling? So that's really, really interesting to hear. But Ashley, I don't want to take up too much of your time here. I think it's such a good conversation about the systems and processes and hearing your story. Is there anything else, coming up or what's going on in your business that you're excited about?
Yeah, I think that is probably my biggest excitement right now.
Hmm.
And then just continuing to work on our real estate business and flip. We do want to transition to more holds. Flipping is not, I don't like selling real estate. If I could never sell one of them, I'd be happy. But right now it's, a necessary evil. So I'm looking forward to hopefully shifting gears and getting back to more long-term rentals or, other options and other opportunities with our real estate business and not flipping because I don't want to sell them. But
Yeah. Now, what market specifically are you in that you're having to sell them? Like you can't keep them.
We're in Northern California. We're up super north. Chico to Redding is
Okay.
our area where we live, and then we're in San Antonio.
Gotcha. So two different markets. So you're managing remotely, and that's where the systems and processes come in.
Yeah, really. Both my husband and I are looking forward to hopefully scaling that. Like once we get San Antonio figured out and we get our systems and processes down of how we're doing out of state stuff and how we're maintaining the quality, which has been the biggest struggle. Maintaining our level of quality when you're not there it's really hard. So
Mhm.
once we get that figured out, we want to move into other markets. The idea is to be in markets that we enjoy visiting. And that we could want to go spend time with. If our kids, end up in college somewhere, maybe we'll pick those markets, give us reasons to go there, that kind of thing. So hopefully we can get this figured out soon because we've got two girls that are seniors this year and going to be headed off to college. So
Oh man, that's a big one right there.
yeah.
Awesome. Awesome, Ashley. So, if anybody wants to follow along on what you're doing, learn more about the residential care facilities and the coaching program you're working on right now, what's the best place to reach you and contact you?
Probably Instagram at Small Town Investors, Facebook, Mike and Ashley Coates.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, go follow Ashley. Go follow along on her journey. This is all we got for the podcast today. Thank you so much, Ashley, for giving us your time. Super excited to be able to follow along with what you're doing and stay connected. So this has been Ashley and Chris on the Leadway Wealth Builders podcast. We'll see you next time.